Hey, it's Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader, and welcome to the Black Belt Leadership Podcast, where each week I'm giving you tips, tools, insights, and resources to help you become a better version of who you are and what you do as you discover, develop, and deploy your own Black Belt leader within. Hey, you may know the name Sir Edmund Hillary. If not, it's a name you might want to look up. Sir Edmund Hillary is credited with being the very first human being to climb to the summit of Mount Everest. He was the first human to make it to the top. Now, maybe you knew that, maybe you didn't. A few years ago, I had an opportunity to meet his son, Sir Edmund Hillary Jr., who was recounting a story of how he retraced his father's footsteps to the top of the mountain, celebrating one of the major milestone anniversaries of that incredible feat of humankind. But while you may know the name Edmund Hillary, or you may know the name from my book, Black Belt Secrets of Success, where I share Edmund Hillary Jr.'s story, you may not know the backstory that actually led to Edmund Hillary summiting the mountain. Now, this was a historic event, but there were other characters involved, especially supporting characters, that played a significant role in his accomplishment. And that's going to be the story I want to lean on today. But let me give you the backstory of how Sir Edmund Hillary made it to the top of the mountain. Now, Edmund Hillary left college after only 2 years of studying to pursue the family business, and that was beekeeping in New Zealand. For many, many years, his father had been a beekeeper, and Edmund Hillary decided this is a way that I can pursue my passion, but also make a living. So Edmund Hillary spent his summers taking care of the beehives, collecting honey for sale, and doing all the manual work that was required. Not only did it get him in great shape, it left his winters open so he could go pursue his passion of mountain climbing. Now, handling thousands of heavy honey boxes during the summer didn't do anything bad for Hillary. In fact, it improved his strength, his endurance, and his stamina, all three of those essential to the demanding sport of mountaineering. Now, this was important because all the way back to his high school days, Edmund Hillary had fallen in love and had developed a passion for the sport of mountaineering. When he was still in high school, he was already climbing New Zealand's Southern Alps. In fact, in 1939, Hillary's first major ascent was to summit to the top of Mount Oliver in the Southern Alps of New Zealand. And in 1948, he went on to lead a team that made the very first ascent of the South Ridge of Rokai, later known as Mount Cook, which was New Zealand's highest peak. So from New Zealand, Hillary traveled to Europe to climb the mountains there and to have an opportunity to test his skill and his ability at several of the major peaks on the Austrian and the Swiss Alps. Two major ascents that he completed there. One was the Jungfrau, 13,642 feet in elevation, and the Elechelhorn, 13,760 feet in elevation. This was the second and third highest mountains in the Bernese Alps. Now, this area was also home to the Alesh Glacier, the largest glacier in the Alps, and it gave Hillary additional knowledge and experience in climbing in icy conditions. Now, 3 years later, Sir Edmund Hillary, still Edmund at the time, joined a British expedition with an opportunity to explore from the Nepal side, the southern approach to Mount Everest. He had an opportunity to explore a previously unmapped route. Now, it was during this time that they were trying to find a way to navigate this southern approach from the country of Nepal to find a way to the top of Mount Everest that he began to demonstrate his ability as a climbing professional when he was one of the very first to navigate the treacherous Khumbu icefall. This was monumental in identifying a potential pathway to the top of Mount Everest. Now, in 1952, Sir Edmund Hillary, again, Edmund at the time, joined another British team in an attempt to summit Chao Oi. Now, Chao Oi is the world's sixth tallest mountain. And all of the things that he's doing up to this point are preparing Hillary for a future summit attempt of Mount Everest. Now, all the things that he'd done up to this point, and in particular, his exceptional performance on three preliminary expeditions in the Himalayas, caught the attraction of someone important, and that was John Hunt, one of the contributors to Sir Edmund Hillary's success. Now, John Hunt had been tasked to lead the 1953 British expedition to attempt to summit Mount Everest. So Hunt, having seen the knowledge and the wisdom and the expertise that Hillary had demonstrated time and time again, invited him to join the team and to be a part of this legendary attempt to climb the mountain no one had climbed before. And so he was there with the rest of the team, acclimating to the altitude at base camp. And then the decision had to be made. Two men were going to be sent to summit the mountain. So John Hunt chose a two-man team to attempt to climb Mount Everest. Now, sadly, the two men chosen did not include Hillary. The two-man team, Borden and Evans, attempted the climb while Hillary watched from behind. But on the way to the top, some 300 feet from the top of the mountain, Evans' oxygen supply suddenly failed. The men, in disappointment, had to turn around and climb back down the mountain. It was then a decision had to be made. Who were the next two to go? And after a tough night of elaborating and deliberating and trying to decide who was going to be next to go, John Hunt emerged from his tent and he informed Hillary and his Sherpa, Tenzing Norgay, that they were going to be the next two to attempt to climb the mountain that no one had climbed before. So after a snow and wind delay, as they sat on the side of the mountain, hoping for the weather to clear so they could make their final push to the top, the two men awoke to find Hillary's boots completely frozen. He had left them outside the tent, and in the wind and the cold, they had literally frozen solid. Hillary couldn't put his boots on his feet. So Hillary had to spend 2 grueling hours thawing out the boots over a stove, hoping the weather would hold. And sure enough, it did. So after he was able to get his boots on and lace them up, Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, each wearing a 30-pound pack, set out from their final camp in an attempt to push to the top and climb Mount Everest and to reach the summit. This was the morning of May 29th, 1953. As they neared the top, they reached the final obstacle, the place that many men had gotten close to, but no one had ever figured a way to get over, and it was a 40-foot outcropping of rock. Now, this later became known as the Hillary Step. And as they discussed and evaluated, how do we get over or around or past this obstacle, Hillary noted there was a crack in the rock on the east face. And what did he do? He wedged himself into the crack, and slowly, as he wormed his way up through this crack, Hillary made his way to the top, as Tenzing held tension with a rope to prevent him from falling. And when Hillary cleared this outcropping of rock, he used the same rope to help pull Tenzing above the outcropping, and they turned, and as they looked forward, they saw a rounded snow dome just a few short steps away. And after one last push and one last bit of effort, the two men found themselves standing literally on the top of the world, on the summit of Mount Everest, 29,032 feet above sea level. That is the story of Sir Edmund Hillary. But let me give you the backstory of one of the major players, and I've mentioned his name a couple of times, Tenzing Norgay. Now, interestingly enough, when Tenzing joined Hillary and they became the first two to summit the mountain, this was not Tenzing's first attempt to summit Mount Everest. In 1935, he was part of a British Mount Everest reconnaissance expedition. And it was there that he served as a high-altitude porter carrying goods for 3 Britons who were attempting to climb Mount Everest from the northern side, the side that faces Tibet. While these 3 men were unsuccessful, Tenzing gained significant knowledge of the mountain. Now, in 1947, Tenzing was also part of a failed attempt by Earl Denman. He was a Canadian mountaineer, and they were some 22,000 feet at elevation when savage storms struck, and it forced them to retreat to base camp and abandon their climb to the top. Now, interestingly enough, Tenzing Norgay also took part in 2 Swiss expeditions to summit Everest from the Nepal side, the south side of the mountain. And it was in those 2 expeditions that Tenzing himself set a new climbing altitude record. On the first attempt, he reached an altitude of 28,215 feet. Now, the second attempt that he did with the Swiss was cut short again by bad weather, but again, he set another record, this time not the number one record, but the number two record of 26,575 feet. Now, it was on his seventh Everest expedition, 7 attempts, that Tenzing found himself paired with Edmund Hillary. And as the team explored routes to the top, as they were getting started on their journey, Hillary fell into a crevice. But Tenzing's quick thinking prevented Hillary from serious injury. Using his rope and an ice pick, he was able to stop Hillary from striking the bottom where he could have suffered serious injury or even death. And Tenzing's quick thinking and the fact that he saved potentially Hillary's life, this forged a very unique bond between the two men. And when it came time to make the decision who was going to be Hillary's climbing partner, well, of course, he was going to turn to his partner of choice, Tenzing Norgay, for any future summit attempt of Mount Everest. And on May 29th, 1953, Tenzing Norgay also made history. He was the very first Sherpa to summit Mount Everest. Now, interestingly enough, that was the last time that Tenzing attempted to climb Mount Everest. He went on to become the very first director of field training at the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute 1 year later in 1954. And it was there that he taught basic, adventure, and advanced mountaineering courses. But he never attempted again to summit the mountain. Now, in 1978, he founded Tenzing Norgay Adventures, and it was through this company, now run by his son, that he offered hiking and climbing adventures throughout the Himalayas. Now, in September 2013, the government of Nepal chose to name a 25,971-foot mountain after their famed Sherpa. It was called Tenzing Peak, located not too far from Chao Oi, one of the mountains that Hillary had earlier climbed. And in July 2015, I love this one, the highest known mountain range on the dwarf planet Pluto, 11,000 plus feet in elevation, was named the Tenzing Montes. It sits next to, you guessed it, the Hillary Montes. Now, while we remember Edmund Hillary as the first man to summit Mount Everest, it's important to point out he wouldn't have been successful in getting to the top without the aid of his Sherpa, Tenzing Norgay. He was the veteran of 6 Everest expeditions, and so he came to Hillary with serious experience, and this proved crucial on their journey up the mountain. I mean, think about it. Up to this point in history, Tenzing was the most experienced Everest climber alive. He possessed a very deep knowledge of the mountain, both from the north and the south side approaches. And he proved in this summit of the mountain to be essential in helping Hillary navigate the various challenges and the various obstacles as they made their way to the top. Now, Tenzing also understood the various differing conditions and the way the weather could change in a moment. He knew what they would face on the mountain because he had withstood them on 6 previous occasions. And what I love about the fact is at the final push, as Hillary was climbing the Hillary step, Norgay served as an anchor. And once Hillary got to the top of the step, Tenzing took the same route, this time Hillary serving as the anchor. And from there, they made their way as a team to the summit, Hillary setting foot on the top of the mountain first, and Tenzing then joining him at the top. Now, to me, this serves as an incredible reminder that no one climbs the mountain alone. And the act of successful teamwork, essential teamwork, makes the summit of the mountain possible. And that's where I want to spend the next few minutes of our time together today. Now, when you think about a Sherpa, what is a Sherpa? By definition, a Sherpa is a guide. It is a guide who takes a person or a group of people on a journey, and they're on a journey to a predetermined, a predestined location. Now, the primary role of that Sherpa is that of a highly skilled mountaineering guide. He's also there to be a porter to help carry the load of what is required and make sure that the resources necessary for success is where the team needs them. Now, the Sherpas are also responsible for helping the team that they're leading, the individuals they're guiding, to navigate treacherous routes. They go ahead of the team to fix the ropes that the people climbing will later use to work their way up the mountain, so they lead in preparing the way for others. They carry heavy loads and they set up camps in advance of the climbers at high altitudes. They are setting up what is necessary for the individuals and the team to experience success. Remember what I've said on many of these podcasts: leaders go first. And this is where we see Sherpa leadership really being played out. Now, think about it. When you think about the expertise these Sherpas have in high altitude environments, coupled with their incredible strength, their incredible endurance, their tenacity, and their vast knowledge and experience in mountaineering, these individuals are critical and necessary to guide the climbers safely from base camp to the top of the mountain. And if today you go to the Himalayas, you're going to find Sherpas that are there, and they are essential to the success of any climbing expedition in the Himalayan mountains. So a Sherpa is going to act as an expert guide. They're going to lead climbers through difficult and dangerous terrain. They're going to manage logistics. They're going to pack the gear. They're going to haul the gear. They're going to set up the camp. They're going to manage the food and the supplies, and they're going to do it at high altitude, often without supplemental oxygen. Remember, they precede the climbers. They fix the ropes the climbers are going to use to ascend the mountain, and they also secure the ladders that will act as bridges that the climbers will use to cross the crevasses they're going to come across along the way. So the Sherpas are there to provide crucial support, and they're also there to ensure the safety of the climbers. Now, they do this in often extreme and hostile conditions, especially the closer to the top of the mountain that you get. Now, one of the unsung roles of the Sherpa is to assess the weather conditions, to assess the potential for avalanche, and they are also there to perform those critical rescues of a climber who may suffer from altitude sickness or exhaustion, or they may get injured on the way up or down the mountain. And what I love about the Sherpas is they will often put their own lives at risk to care for the climbers that are in their care. So Sherpas are guides who assist others in navigating challenges to reach a goal. They're going to use their expertise to lead and support, even though they don't get the credit or the glory. They are there to serve, and they're there to support. They understand that the credit and the glory is reserved for the people that they're guiding. And what I love about Sherpas and what I love about Sherpa leadership is it's leading through service to others. So if you think about a Sherpa is a leader who knows the way, shows the way, and leads the way. This is Sherpa leadership. Now, I believe a Sherpa leader does 8 specific things that set them apart from other leaders. First, they engage in preparation. If you think about what they do before the journey starts, they're going to meticulously plan the journey. They're going to chart the path. They're going to think about the terrain you've got to cross. But not only are they going to think about the terrain they've got to cross to get from where they are to where they want to be, they have to evaluate the abilities of the individual or the team that they're leading and guiding. Now, the Sherpas are going to use their knowledge and their experience as they gauge the team and the route to go to find the safest and most efficient pathway to get from point A to point B. The other thing I love about preparation with a Sherpa is this. They're going to assess what resources are going to be required, not just for today, but for tomorrow, for the duration of the journey. And they're also going to make sure that any emergency resources that may be needed are going to be there just in case. Preparation is number 1. Number 2, Sherpas set expectations. A Sherpa is going to take the time to review the plan and go over it with those they are guiding so they understand in advance the path they're going to take and what's going to be required along the way. As they're saying, we're going to go from point A to point B, they're also going to explain in advance any challenge, any obstacles, or any other issue that they may face along the path. And they're going to say in advance, this is how we're going to successfully navigate these challenges. One of the things I love about Sherpas is they don't blindly take the people they are in charge of caring for into the unknown without giving them advanced knowledge of what they're going to be facing. Now, the third thing Sherpas do and what Sherpa leaders do is they assess ability. Before they start the climb, the Sherpas get to know the people they're going to be guiding. They're going to spend time with them in advance to begin to understand their capabilities, but also to recognize their limitations and their shortfalls. Their role and their success is in leading those individuals to get to their destination safely. And part of the process of doing that and making sure that everyone has a safe and successful journey is evaluating the ability of those they're going to lead. Now, the fourth thing I love about Sherpa leadership is this: Sherpas do everything possible to minimize risk. You got to remember the role of a Sherpa is to guide their charges, the people they've been tasked to lead. Their role is to get them to their destination, the top of the mountain, to get them there safely. So mitigating risk is essential for the success of the journey, but it's also essential for the safety of those they're leading, as well as the safety of the Sherpas themselves. So by minimizing risk and recognizing in advance what challenges and obstacles may be there, they can be better prepared to support and assist the individuals and the team when any unforeseen or unexpected situations may arise. Now, the fifth thing I love about Sherpa leadership is this: it's adaptation. Because the Sherpas are going to often face the most dangerous parts of the journey first. Remember, they lead by example. And in this example, the Sherpas go ahead of the team and they set the ropes in advance the team's going to be climbing. So they're getting advanced knowledge of what the team's going to be facing as they move from Camp 1 to Camp 2 to Camp 3 to Camp 4 to Camp 5 and then ultimately push to the summit. And as they're doing this, they're getting an advanced look of what may be ahead. They're going to get a chance to see how weather conditions may be shaping or changing the route they're going to take. And this knowledge is going to allow them to adapt as needed so they can minimize the dangers to themselves and the people that will be following them the next day up the mountain. Because remember, on the mountain, the unforeseen can and often does show up. And many times it shows up unannounced. And it's this, in my opinion, is where the experience of the Sherpa is invaluable, in the fact that they can pivot and adapt as needed to the changing landscape before them. Now, the sixth thing I love about Sherpa leadership is the fact that Sherpas lead by example. I mentioned this earlier in the podcast today. They go first. They're going to navigate the very same challenges and hardships their team will experience on the journey, but they get to do it first. They're going to test and make sure it is safe as possible before they invite those they're leading to follow them up the path. So they're going to demonstrate by example that they are willing to do themselves what they're asking the climbers to do as they follow. They're going to model the behavior they want the team to emulate so everyone can safely continue the journey as they're going up the mountains, crossing the crevasses, making this incredible climb as they push to the top of the mountain. Now, all of this fosters trust and it builds mutual respect. And to me, it's a very clear example of how a Sherpa can show those they are leading how to navigate obstacles, how to adapt to setbacks, and ultimately what's required to push to get to the top of the mountain. The other thing I like about this particular point is the fact that it's a reminder to all of us that good leadership is not only about leading from the front and showing people this is the way, follow me, but it's also about being there along the team as they're making the journey and as they're climbing together towards the summit. The Sherpas face the same challenges and obstacles as the people they're leading, and they don't only face it once, they face it twice. They face it the first time as they're going in advance to prepare the way, and then they come back and they tell the team, follow me, as they lead them forward. So what I love about this, it's do as I do rather than do as I say. Now, the seventh thing I love about Sherpa leadership is the fact that Sherpas are encouragers. And if you've ever had an opportunity to watch any documentary of people climbing Mount Everest, you will see those Sherpas encouraging the climbers all along the way. They understand that a part of their responsibility is not only guiding through the difficult challenges, but building the confidence of the climbers and helping them constantly hone their skills as they're having to adapt to ever-changing conditions on the mountain. And as they encourage these climbers, they're giving them motivation. They're keeping their mental attitude positive, and that inspires those climbers to keep going and to keep pushing forward even when the going gets tough, even when it's difficult, almost impossible to put one foot in front of the other. Now, to me, this reinforces the team's belief in itself, and it reminds each individual they can succeed if they'll just take one more step, and then 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 they find themselves standing at the top of the world. And one of the outcomes of Sherpa leadership when it comes to encouragement is this: encouragement fosters a partnership. I want to say that again. Encouragement fosters a partnership. And when we encourage our team members, we're reminding them we are on this journey together. We are sharing the struggles together, and we are moving together towards a common goal we're going to experience together. Now, the eighth and final trait of Sherpa leadership, and you probably figured it out by now, Sherpas celebrate the wins along the way. And as they make it to the various camps that they're going to spend time at, as they're acclimating to the altitude on their way up the mountain, as they get to the camps and they reach these benchmarks, they're going to pause and they're going to celebrate the success of the team from going from base camp to camp one, from camp one to camp two, from making it across a crevasse to getting across an ice field to being able to climb a specific difficult piece of the climb, because Sherpas understand what gets rewarded gets repeated. And when we celebrate the wins, you and I know that it reinforces the positive behavior that led to the win in the first place. It boosts our morale, it boosts our confidence, and it builds our resilience and our belief in ourselves. So celebrating the win provides a reward for the effort. Now, this in turn, when we celebrate the win, it's going to improve our focus, it's going to foster connection, and it's going to lead to personal growth. Now, to me, it's also a reminder as we encourage those we're leading that we're all together on the right path, going in the right direction, getting ever closer to summit the mountain. And as we do that, we continue to build momentum as we face the next leg of the journey together. So let me wrap up today's teaching with this. Important to remember, nobody, not a single one of us, is ever going to climb to the top of a Mount Everest alone. And as we face the challenges and the opportunities that life presents us every single day, no one climbs those mountains alone. So Sherpa leadership to me is a reminder that any major accomplishment of a goal or an objective that we have, every single major accomplishment, every single major goal, they're going to be difficult. If they were easy, anybody could do it. Now, because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's impossible if we try to do it on our own. To me, the mountain is a metaphor for any significant or challenging goal or objective that you or I have set before us. If it's not a big, hairy, audacious goal, to borrow a phrase from, the incredible writer of Good to Great, to get to the top, guess what? We're going to need the help of people around us. We're going to need the help of individuals like the Sherpa who've been there, done that, and they're ready to do it again. Now, it's also a reminder to you and I that you and I, if we're the ones that have been there, done that, and we're ready to do it again, then guess what? There's an opportunity for us to lead as a Sherpa. If we haven't yet experienced the win, we want to lean on those who've been there before, got the t-shirt, and are willing to say, let me help you get to the top, and I'll show you how it's done. But once we've gotten to the top and we've navigated our way there, been there, done that, it's our turn to lead. It's our turn to look to others who are looking to us to help them summit their mountain, to accomplish what they want or need in their lives. And it's our goal, it's our obligation, it's our responsibility as leaders to help them do that. This is an opportunity for you and I when we've been to the top and we've achieved success, we've achieved significance, we become a subject matter expert, a master or a grandmaster at something to lead other people on the journey, to help them also climb the mountain, because guess what? They want and they need our knowledge and our experience as we lead them to a place they can't get to on their own. We had to lean on people when we weren't there yet to get us to the place we wanted to go. And as we look back at the supporting characters in our lives, it's an opportunity for us to pause, as Sir Edmund Hillary did, and give thanks to Tenzing Norgay for helping him get to the top of the mountain. So my challenge to you is really twofold. I want you to pause and I want you to think about for a minute, who is it that helped you get from where you were to where you are today? Have you taken the opportunity to thank them for their role as a Sherpa leader in helping you get there? But more importantly, let me ask you this. Who's waiting on you? And I'm talking to you. Who is waiting on you to be their Tenzing Norgay? Who is waiting on you today to help them summit their own Mount Everest of success? Who needs you to be a Sherpa leader today? I'm Dr. John Terry, the Black Belt Leader. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.